The woman who seems the most indifferent toward you is often the one who spends the most time dissecting every word you've ever spoken to her while she's alone. There is a profound disconnect in the way men and women communicate interest, and this gap is where most potential relationships go to die. For a man, attraction is a straight line. If he is interested, he moves forward. He speaks, he pursues, and he makes his intentions known because he is biologically and socially conditioned to lead. But for a woman, interest is a complex web of risk management, emotional safety, and plausible deniability. If you are waiting for a neon sign or a clear invitation to move forward, you are going to be waiting forever. You aren't missing the signals because they don't exist. You're missing them because you're looking for male-style communication in a female-style world. To understand women, you have to understand the psychology of masking. Most women will go to extraordinary lengths to avoid being the first to show their cards. Why? Because the moment a woman admits she is interested, she loses her power in the interaction and becomes vulnerable to rejection. To protect herself, she develops a series of subtle, layered, and often contradictory signals designed to test your awareness and your strength without ever exposing her own heart. This is not about games. It's about emotional survival. If she can communicate interest without actually saying she's interested, she stays safe. If you don't pick up on it, she can simply claim she was just being friendly, and her ego remains intact. This is the barrier you must learn to see through. We are going to dive deep into the 6 specific psychological signals that prove she is thinking about you constantly, even when she acts like you're just another face in the crowd. By the end of this, you will have a behavioral framework to move from confusion to absolute clarity. To understand the first sign, we have to look at how the female brain processes information related to emotional significance. The first undeniable signal is the retention of hyper-specific details. Most people operate on a level of social autopilot. We remember names, jobs, and perhaps a few surface-level facts about the people we meet. However, when a woman is thinking about a man non-stop, her brain begins to tag every piece of information related to him as high-priority data. If a woman brings up a small, throwaway comment you made 3 weeks ago, something about your favorite childhood dog, a specific way you like your coffee, or a minor frustration you had at work, she is telling you that you occupy a massive amount of real estate in her mind. This isn't just good memory. This is emotional investment manifested as data storage. Men often brush this off as her just being a good listener. But ask yourself, does she remember the same level of detail about the other men in her circle? Almost certainly not. She remembers because she is replaying your conversations in her head. She is analyzing your preferences, your history, and your character while she is away from you. When she presents this information back to you, it is a subtle bridge she is building. She is showing you that she was paying attention, which is the highest form of flattery a woman can offer. If you notice her referencing things you barely remember saying, stop and realize that she isn't just listening. She is studying you. This level of focus is never accidental. It is the result of a mind that returns to the subject of you over and over again, until the smallest details become etched into her long-term memory. The second sign is what I call engineered proximity under the guise of coincidence. This is perhaps the most strategic tool in a woman's arsenal. A woman who is thinking about you will consistently find herself in your physical or digital space, but she will always have a reason that makes it look like an accident. If you're at a party, she somehow ends up standing near you. If you're at the gym, she happens to be using the machine right next to yours. In the digital world, she is the first person to view your stories. Or she might send you a meme that is tangentially related to something you mentioned once. To the untrained eye, these are coincidences. To the man who understands female psychology, this is a calculated effort to create opportunities for interaction without her having to take the risk of initiating a formal conversation. She is placing herself in your orbit, hoping that you will be the one to break the ice. This allows her to maintain that precious, plausible deniability. If you don't speak to her, she hasn't lost anything because she was just there anyway. But if you do speak to her, her mission is accomplished. The key here is the frequency of these accidents. 1 time is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. If a woman is consistently finding ways to be near you, she is trying to give you a chance to notice her. She is creating a stage and waiting for you to step onto it. This is her way of saying, "I want you to talk to me," without ever having to utter those words. Most men miss this because they think it's just a random occurrence, but in the world of attraction, nothing is ever truly random. The third sign is arguably the most confusing for men: tactical indifference or defensive coldness. This is the problem phase of our narrative. Have you ever been around a woman who is warm and friendly to everyone else but becomes quiet, stiff, or even slightly dismissive when you walk into the room? Most men take this as a sign of dislike. They think, "She must hate me," and they pull away. In reality, this is often the strongest sign of intense interest. This happens because the woman is so overwhelmed by her own feelings for you that she doesn't know how to act normal. Being normal requires a lack of emotional stakes. She can be friendly to other guys because she doesn't care what they think. But with you, the stakes are sky high. She is terrified that if she acts too friendly, her feelings will leak out and you'll see right through her. To prevent this, she overcompensates by shutting down. She is putting up a shield. If you want to know if her coldness is actually hidden interest, look for the rebound effect. Does she ignore you when you're right in front of her, but then look at you the moment you turn away? Does she act cold in person but engage with you warmly online? This contrast is the smoking gun. True indifference is boring. It is neutral. Tactical indifference is charged with tension. If she truly didn't like you, she wouldn't feel the need to perform a lack of interest. She would just be polite and forget you exist. When a woman works hard to show you she doesn't care, she is actually showing you exactly how much she does. Fourth, we must analyze the physical evidence, the micro cues of the body. While the mind can lie and the words can be masked, the nervous system is much harder to control. When a woman is thinking about a man constantly, her body enters a state of heightened physiological arousal when he is near. This isn't just about body language in the cliched sense, it's about biological responses. Look for pupil dilation. The eyes literally open wider to take in more of a person they find attractive. Look for the grooming reflex. Does she instinctively touch her hair, adjust her jewelry, or smooth her clothes the moment you enter her line of sight? These are preening behaviors rooted in evolutionary biology, designed to make her appear more attractive to a potential mate. Another massive tell is the direction of the feet. Even if she is talking to someone else, if her feet are pointed toward you, that is where her true attention lies. Her body is literally preparing to move toward you. Furthermore, pay attention to her behavior when something funny happens in a group. Most people, when they laugh, instinctively look at the person they feel closest to or most interested in to see if they are laughing too. It is a moment of seeking shared reality. If she consistently catches your eye during a group laugh, she is signaling that you are her primary point of reference. Her body is confessing what her pride is trying to hide. She is seeking a connection, a silent confirmation that you and she are on the same wavelength. These micro-cues are the honest baseline of attraction because they happen faster than the conscious mind can stop them. The fifth sign is the behavioral contrast. This is the insight portion of our framework. To understand how she feels about you, you must first establish a baseline of how she treats everyone else. Is she a natural flirt? If she flirts with everyone but is shy with you, that is your signal. Is she generally quiet? If she becomes talkative and animated specifically around you, that is your signal. Interest is found in the delta, the difference between her standard behavior and her behavior in your presence. Most men make the mistake of looking at a woman's behavior in a vacuum. They see her being nice and think she's interested, but they don't notice she's nice to the mailman, the barista, and her boss. That's just her personality. But if she is someone who is usually very composed and professional, yet she becomes a little bit clumsy or giggly when you're around, you have successfully disrupted her baseline. You have moved her out of her comfort zone. This disruption is a clear indicator that your presence carries emotional weight for her. She is no longer in control of the situation because her feelings for you are interfering with her standard operating procedure. This contrast is the most reliable way to filter out just being nice from genuine attraction. Watch the way her energy shifts when you enter the room. Does the room get brighter? Does she stand a little taller? Or does she suddenly become very focused on her phone? Any deviation from her norm is a sign that you are not just another person to her. You are a variable that she is trying to solve for. Finally, the sixth sign is passive digital information gathering. In the modern age, a woman's interest often leaves a digital footprint that she thinks is invisible. This is the silent watcher phase. If a woman is thinking about you, she is likely doing her homework. She knows about that trip you took to Japan 3 years ago. She knows you have a sister who just graduated. She knows these things because she has spent time scrolling through your digital history. The giveaway here is when she accidentally leaks information she shouldn't know yet. She might mention a hobby of yours that you haven't told her about, or she might bring up a friend of yours by name. When she realizes she's done this, she'll usually try to cover it up quickly, but the cat is out of the bag. She has been observing you from the shadows. Another version of this is the selective engagement on social media. She might not like every photo because that feels too obvious, but she views every single story within minutes of you posting it. She is keeping tabs on your life because she wants to feel connected to you even when you aren't together. She is looking for hooks, reasons to start a conversation, or things to bring up later. This passive observation is a form of vetting. She is trying to understand your world, your values, and your lifestyle to see how she might fit into it. If she knows more about you than you've actually told her, it's not because she's a stalker. It's because she is deeply, profoundly curious about who you are as a man. Now that we have identified the signs, we have to move into the solution, the behavioral framework for how you should respond. The biggest mistake men make when they notice these signals is overreacting. They see a sign and they immediately pounce, which scares the woman and causes her to retreat further into her shell. Remember, she is masking her interest because she feels vulnerable. If you suddenly turn up the heat, you validate her fear that things are moving too fast or that she has lost control. The key is to be grounded and non-reactive. When you see her engineering proximity or remembering small details, don't call her out on it. Don't say, "Oh, you must really like me if you remembered that." That is a death blow to attraction. Instead, simply acknowledge it with warmth and keep your own composure. You want to create a safe container for her interest to grow. Think of it like a stray cat. If you run at it to pet it, it will bolt. But if you sit still and hold out your hand, eventually it will come to you. Your job is to stay consistent. Be the same man every time she sees you. This consistency lowers her anxiety and proves that you are a stable, high-value individual. As she sees that you aren't going to judge her or mock her for her interest, she will slowly start to drop the mask. The problem insight solution narrative here is simple. The problem is her fear of vulnerability. The insight is your ability to read her subtle signals. The solution is your grounded presence that allows her to feel safe enough to be direct. Implementation requires a shift in your internal state. You must stop seeking validation and start offering it. When you notice her trying to be near you, offer her a bit of your attention, but don't give her all of it. Maintain your own life, your own mission, and your own focus. This creates the pull that makes her interest intensify. She needs to feel that you are worth the risk of being vulnerable. If you are too easy to get, the game is over and her interest will often fade because there is no challenge. But if you are a man of character who notices the details but isn't desperate for them, you become a magnet. You are showing her that you are observant enough to lead, but strong enough not to need her. This balance is where the most intense attraction lives. It is the dance between her subtle signals and your steady response. You are inviting her into a space where she can eventually drop the plausible deniability and be honest with you. This transition doesn't happen through a big talk about feelings. It happens through a series of small shared moments where you match her energy and then lead it just one step further. If she stands near you, you turn and give her a smile. If she remembers a detail about you, you ask her a deep question about herself. You are rewarding her subtle steps forward with small, grounded steps of your own. This builds a feedback loop of trust and attraction that eventually breaks through the mask she's been wearing. In conclusion, the world of female attraction is not nearly as mysterious as it seems once you understand the underlying psychological drivers. Women mask their interest, not because they want to be difficult, but because they want to be sure. They are looking for a man who is perceptive enough to see them, but disciplined enough not to be rattled by them. the woman who is watching you from across the room, the one who remembers your favorite book, the one who always seems to be in your orbit. She is already invested. She is waiting for you to prove that you are the man she thinks you are. She is waiting for you to provide the strength and the stability that will allow her to finally stop hiding. Stop looking for the direct approach. It isn't coming. Instead, start looking for the patterns. Look for the contrast, the proximity, the memory, and the physical tells. When you see them, don't rush. Stay grounded. Be the rock that she can anchor her emotions to. Dating in the modern world is a game of awareness. The men who win are not the ones who speak the loudest. They are the ones who listen the best. They are the ones who can read between the lines and understand the unspoken language of the heart. You now have the tools to see what other men miss. Use them with empathy, use them with strength, and most importantly, use them with the understanding that every signal she sends is a request for you to lead. The gap between her surface behavior and her internal reality is where your opportunity lies. Bridge that gap with your presence, and you will find that the woman you thought didn't like you is actually the one who has been waiting for you all along. This is the truth of attraction. It is a quiet, steady build toward a moment of total clarity. Your job is to be there when the mask finally falls. By following this behavioral framework, you aren't just picking up girls. You are becoming a man who understands women on a fundamental level. That understanding is the most attractive trait you can ever possess. It is the hallmark of a high-value man who is in control of his romantic life. Take these lessons, apply them with patience, and watch as the hidden world of female interest reveals itself to you in ways you never thought possible. You are no longer guessing. You are observing. And in observation, there is power. Go out and use that power to build the connections you've been looking for. And remember that the most important signals are the ones that are never spoken aloud. The woman you've been wondering about is likely wondering about you too, hoping you're smart enough to see the signs she's too afraid to show. Don't let her down. Be the man who sees. Be the man who understands. Be the man who leads her out of the shadows of her own masking and into the light of a genuine, powerful connection that started with nothing more than a few subtle, hidden signals that only you were calibrated to receive. This is the journey of the observant man, and it is a journey that leads to the most rewarding relationships of your life. The signals are there. They have always been there. Now, for the first time, you actually know what you are looking at. And that is the moment everything changes for you in the world of women and attraction.